They come from the bowels of hell.
The Dana Gould Hour.
Jungle worms and swamp rats run around your feet.
Welcome to the sparkling new season.
Thanks, folks. And once again, welcome back.
Welcome to Season 9 of the Dana Gould Hour podcast. We're going to try for something a little different this season. We're going to see how it goes. We're going to try to get the episodes out on a less random schedule, chaos in a box, and hopefully at a more digestible length. One interview per show released on the first and third Monday or Tuesday of every month. That's what we're going for, God willing, or Wednesday. The middle pieces, which have been given their own little segment name, will still be there. And in the coming weeks, for our Patreon supporters, we'll be posting them all in an online library for you to go and listen to whenever you wish. My guest, well, she gained online notoriety as Comic Book Girl 19 and is now rebranding herself simply as Danica. But she is one of those people who, smart, funny, interesting, and her job is being online. We met her at a Halloween party. My girlfriend and I were dressed as Taylor and Nova from Planet of the Apes, and we were sitting there judging everyone. And this kindly old nun approached us and mentioned a mutual friend. And after talking to her for only a few minutes, we invited her on the podcast. The artist formerly known as Comic Book Girl 19, for your listening pleasure. For me, I'll be on tour with Bobcat Goldthwait this month, February 6th. We will be in Atlanta, once again trying the show that almost killed us. This time it will be at the Highland Inn Ballroom, February 6th. On February 7th, we will be in Athens at the world-famous 40 Watt Club. And on the 8th, we will be in Asheville, North Carolina at the Mothlight. All of these shows will be filmed for a forthcoming special. From February 14th to 16th, yep, some idiot booked himself out of town on St. Valentine's Day. That was smart. I will be in beautiful Grand Rapids, Michigan. So please, come on out. For details on these and other exciting opportunities, go to danagould.com/events. Lastly, before we go, please allow me to say one word about our Patreon feature. A lot of people have signed up. I'm very grateful. It's $5 a month, and you get the title Dana Gould Hour Sky Cadet. And for that, every month you get bonus content, video crap, etc. Soon you will have access to our middle piece library. This is a special show with a weird schedule, and our Patreon reflects that. We don't have graded levels. It's not, one thing and then twice that amount will come to your house, and 5 times that amount you get to shampoo my sister. $5. You're a Sky Cadet. You get some stuff. We do a show. Speaking of which, let's do one now. Let's get on to our filthy business.
Tune in, it's a gas. It's the Dana Gould Hour podcast.
The Dana Gould Hour. Free and worth it.
It is a beautiful day high atop the Mulholland Drive view shelf here in sunny Southern California as we kick off our first show of 2020 with our sort of attempt at a new delivery process. We're going to do one interview every other week. That's the goal. We'll see if I can make it go for more than a month. I was at a Halloween party for a special effects company, which are always great Halloween parties. And I met a kindly, elderly nun who, and I was dressed as Taylor from Planet of the Apes. astronaut version, not loincloth version. I have respect for what other people have to look at. And she came up to me and we had just met a bunch of people in common. It was one of those things where we started to meet people that the other one knew, and then a week later we met. And then I said, I would love to have you on the podcast. And then I met you, and you looked nothing like your costume. and the most interesting aspect of it is in finding a way to introduce you, because you are one of those people who have created your own career. I would call you a person of interest on the internet.
Yes.
And or some would say a video artist.
A video artist. Yes, I like the sound of that.
Yeah. The artist formerly known as Comic Book Girl 19.
That's me.
Now currently known as Danica XIX.
Yes, the 19 is silent. It's fancy. The XIX, it's like Roman numerals.
It's the Roman
you know?
XIX.
But yeah, so now I'm going by Danica.
So your job is posting.
Yeah, you just got to keep posting, man. You just got to keep it the hamster wheel.
You're a better man than I am when it comes to that. But yeah, so when I met you, I said, "Oh, it's great. You know my friend Grady."
Yes.
And I, "Oh yeah, of course, Grady." Not Grady from Sanford and Son, but oddly, we also both know Grady from Sanford and Son. And I said, "Oh, that's funny. What do you do?" And you said, "I am an internet personality."
Yes.
And that is one of those things you always used to watch those old, like, I'd go on YouTube and it goes all the way back to like, well, what is a beatnik? And then, well, what is a hippie?
And it's always changing too with internet lingo, because it was like, oh, YouTuber, well, that doesn't fit anymore. Well, streamer, I don't know, influencer, that's a bad word.
Streamer
now.
is actually a term in urology. That you don't.
It doesn't sound, it's not a hot term.
I'm an endless streamer. But yeah, they would always have, like, mainstream culture always has the condescending view of the outsider. What is a hippie? What is a punk rocker? Mm-hmm. Do you hate everything? Do you have a safety pin in your head? And now, it's a YouTuber, influencer. You wouldn't call yourself an influencer.
No.
You don't walk around groveling for free stuff. No. Which is what an influencer does.
Yeah, no, I'm more of a salesman. I'm more of like a Stan Lee, like, hey, true believers, buy this fun thing. Well, let's go on an adventure. That's more my style.
And you started because do you know Jason Nash?
No.
Okay, Jason Nash is a friend of mine, stand-up comedian who I've known forever. Mm-hmm. And then he moved into this vlogging house, video blogging house called
Intense.
The Vlog Squad.
Whoa.
And he is the person that my kids are stunned that I know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we're close. Our families are close. The year before last, we went trick-or-treating together. We just happened to be at the same group of adults.
Yes.
And we went trick-or-treating together. And it was like trick-or-treating with Elvis. Like every 13, 14, 15-year-old kid. That's Jason Nash. That's Jason Nash.
It's crazy how...
Jason's a great guy. I'm not, I want to specify. He's a great guy.
In our day, it was like we watched cartoons or comic books or read books, and we followed characters. And now children, the younger generation, they seem to follow people, like actual people, instead of just fictional characters. And it's weird, this shift of taking characters from the page and now having them real life people.
It's true. And my oldest, my oldest two kids, well, I guess all three now, that, their default for chilling out is to watch YouTube.
Yeah.
Or to watch someone play a video game on YouTube.
Yeah, or Twitch. That's big for that.
I don't know how many steps away from being alive you are at that point when you're watching someone play a game on a screen.
I don't quite get that either, but it's a whole thing. Also,
it's not our job to get it.
Kids love watching other kids open things, but they don't really want to open the thing themselves.
That's true.
That's crazy.
Yeah, opening.
I mean, it's like the experience, watching the other person having the experience is somehow more mystical.
And there's
having it themselves.
There is a brilliant biological impulse. Do you want to know what's inside this? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the genius of.
What's in the box?
Yeah, that was the genius of Storage Wars.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
The mystery.
And you just kept waiting for, it's hands. Yeah. It's filled with hands.
Yeah.
But you first came to prominence online as Comic Book Girl 19.
Yes, on YouTube specifically.
Right. And that was your first sort of online personality.
Yes.
Tell us about Comic Book Girl 19.
Comic Book Girl 19 lives in a meta reality, and she has a robot sidekick. Later, she got also a space brain sidekick. It's kind of like...
and this is a TV show, basically, that you...
Yeah, it was like a very high-production YouTube show, and we talked about...
It was like Pee-wee's Playhouse meets Mystery Science Theater.
Yeah, let's talk about movies and comic books that are coming out right now.
Right, yeah.
And so we would discuss current, comic book movies and comic books and movies and whatever else piqued my interest. Game of Thrones was a big thing. Mm-hmm. Prometheus was huge for us. We had a lot of...
The Alien prequel?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that one led a lot of people to our channel because I was so mystified by this movie. And I was like, what is the deal? And like, we really went into it and people had a lot of fun with it and they really loved it. And then, we followed that up with some Game of Thrones epic histories that were really big, that were very successful, where I went back and talked about all of the ancient lore, that's in the books that wasn't in the show, so people could understand the politics, behind the family feuding and who did this.
And when you say people liked it, you're talking, your numbers are crazy.
I mean, I don't know if they're crazy, but they were
in the millions.
Yeah. For those videos. Yes. For those, the biggest ones. Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. It is though. It is. It's it's just a number on a screen. But when you quantify that and you think about watching someone, the Super Bowl, there's not a million people in that stadium.
No.
And that's so many people.
No, you had what was your, we're talking 47 million viewers or something?
Well, no, I don't have 47 million viewers, subscribers. I have 500,000 subscribers.
Right. But people that, eyeballs, I guess.
Yeah, but well, depending on the video, it's just I have certain videos that hit in the millions and a lot of them hit more in the 100,000s or somewhere from 50 to 100 to 200.
Right.
But every now and then you get one that the Ghostbusters one blew up. I went and talked about how Ghostbusters wasn't a feminist movie. It was just kind of a bad movie that's being utilized in this weird PR stunt to get more numbers. And I just was we deserve a better movie. This isn't really a feminist idea in my opinion. This isn't the thing. And
right.
I got to be the one to stand up.
Not like Charlie's Angels.
Oh my gosh. Wow. What another misfire. They really don't understand these properties.
But you talk about, it's in the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
That's James Corden. That's Seth Meyers. Those are their numbers.
Yeah.
It's
so I'm so
you're up there with them, and that's the beauty of the internet.
Well, not anymore though. On
the
YouTube,
great equalizer.
It isn't though. Every year they make it harder and harder, and people like Jimmy Fallon are promoted more and more and more, and people like me are promoted less and less and less.
Is it because they're buying the?
Yeah. Right. I mean, they get money from them, so it makes sense. They give me some.
Does NBC
money.
pay YouTube to promote Jimmy Fallon?
I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's something going on there.
Uh-huh.
I would assume there's some sort of exchange happening. But I have seen over the years that
it was called payola. It was a giant scandal in the 50s in the radio industry.
Well, I'm sure it's happening again today.
Yeah, well, all that stuff is legal now. It not only is legal, it's codified and celebrated.
Yeah. Well, so that's why I've been kind of moving away from YouTube because I've seen the writing on the wall for so long. Things change on these platforms, things change on the internet, and I'm such a small operation that I can quickly change.
Right.
It's
you are, dare I say, fleet of foot.
Yeah. And it's helped me because the internet is this crazy ocean and there's all these big fish in there, and I'm in the ocean too. And I'm like a little shark. I'm like a shark, but I'm like a little shark,
Right.
And I can go fast and I can dart around and I get around stuff. And it's crazy. It's swimming around on this weird World Wide Web thing has been so fascinating being a part of it. It's such a Wild West frontier.
There are no guardrails. No guardrails, yeah.
Yeah.
You're from Alabama.
Yes, sir. Huntsville,
Alabama. You move here with your dude.
No, kind of, but yeah.
Kind of, yeah, broad strokes.
Yes.
And you create a career for yourself out of whole cloth. This is your job.
Yes.
You're not
this
doing
is my
something
job.
else and then, this is your job.
Yeah, having a relationship with thousands of people on the internet is my job.
And that's what you said that I found very interesting, that you are in a relationship with these people.
Yes.
On a daily basis.
Yeah.
Speaking of unpacking, unpack that a little bit, because it's fascinating.
Yeah, I realized a long time ago, I was like, I'm not supposed to work. I'm supposed to know people. That's what I'm good at. And so I've kind of shifted my thinking about work into like, oh, I have a relationship. Like, this is a relationship. And I'm like, okay, this way of looking at it works. And it really is, though. And it's one of the, dare I say, healthiest and most rewarding relationships I've had in my life. Like, a lot of people.
Now, wait a minute.
It's bizarre because I've had, I've known a lot of people and I've had a lot of relationships. But
this is where my shrink would shift in this chair.
I know it's a little weird. But somehow I'm able to really anthropomorphize these thousands of people into one entity and be able to speak to them.
Right.
And it works really well, and they like it, and I like it, and we're very happy, and they support me, and they support my endeavors, and I'm completely funded by the people that follow me.
Right.
I'm not taking money for ads right now.
And that's, in a way, this show is funded by the listeners as well. You're in daily communication with these people.
On Instagram and Twitter and Patreon. Yeah. I mean, I've actually been, my relationship has deepened with the internet. And on my Patreon, I've been doing nudes 5 days a week.
As do I on mine.
It's like they love it. They like you get a nude every day.
And it's not just a random nude. It's not like, look, Lee Major's nude.
Yeah.
No, they're self-nude.
It's me on my phone in my house, like, just, hey, what's up? And sometimes there's sets, like, for a week where I'll do a set has a theme. Sometimes it'll just be random stuff. It just depends on kind of where I'm at, because my life is kind of chaotic as an artist.
And how much now?
But the internet, though, it's interesting. Like, the internet, there's this big joke on the internet about send nudes. Like, send nudes, like in the memes and stuff. Everyone's always saying send nudes. And I'm like, well, I have a relationship with the internet, and the internet wants nudes. So maybe I should just send them nudes.
That's the sequel to Mars Needs Women. The internet wants nudes.
Here's the thing in a relationship. You just have to listen, guys. You just listen to what they want, and they say send nudes. So I've been sending the internet nudes, and it's been working out great.
And here's a weird question. Here's a guy who's a parent of 3 girls. Yeah. Do you feel safe?
Thus far, I have not had any issues. Not to say that there might not be something in the future. I've had, throughout my life, even before I was Comic Book Girl 19, I've dealt with weirdos who
everyone. Yeah, everyone does, and
yes, I inspire, especially the crazy ones love me.
Sure, especially women. I mean,
But thus far, my audience has been really cool and mostly really awesome about it.
Well, they're nerdy. I mean, you're. I would think that your audience is more nerdy and has more of an if not intellectual bent, a literal bent.
Yes,
it's not.
I have a lot of smarter,
an adult star that's constantly that's all you have to offer.
My stuff is very like kind of cheesecake, fun, pin-up-y, teasing, just like, hey, like, I'm open.
Jane Mansfield-y,
like
Betty
it's
Pagey.
Like just a sharing. And the thing is, I do look
Betty
great.
Page
My body is amazing, and I do want to kind of share it. Like, I don't know, because I'm not going to have it forever, and. Right now, it really works. This isn't something that I don't think I'm going to do forever. But for right now, it's something that's been a lot of fun playing with that. But also, while I've also been doing this, which is, very like showing, nudes of yourself, like, it is kind of you've crossed a Rubicon for sure.
Sure.
Sharing that sort of stuff with the internet. But I've also been developing a masculine character, Dirtbag Dan.
Yeah.
And he kind of balances it out for everybody.
No.
So anyone who's getting too excited, then Dan will come in the mix and like fuck it up for him.
Okay, so I want to talk about 3 things. I want to talk about Dirtbag Dan. I want to talk about I still want to revisit Comic Book Girl 19.
Yes.
Actually, I wanted to get into Prometheus, but you set off to quote the Get Smart movie. You set off the nude bomb, so we have to go.
Well, we had to get that out of the way. We had to get that out of the way.
The nude bomb, written by the late great Buck Henry. So you have this. You're on Twitter, Instagram,
yeah,
and Twitch.
Yeah, I've been going from making content for YouTube to making content for Twitch, and then taking parts of the content on Twitch and putting it on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
So
and
that's the new
Is your
system.
YouTube channel the same, Danica XIX? Or
The
is
YouTube channel is still Comic Book Girl 19.
Okay.
I haven't rebranded that yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to or not. I'm still thinking about it because it's kind of a bad idea, but it also has its positives as well.
Yeah, no, you have to, you've got to go, brand ideas.
We figured it out.
Yeah, no, I had a great idea to change the name of the show, and my producer went, "No, I'm going to beg you not to do that."
I'm gonna beg you. I know. They're like, "Don't do it." I'm like, "Yeah, but
it's a great idea. I'll confuse everybody."
I'll confuse everyone.
Please don't.
But at the same time, I always knew when I chose Comic Book Girl 19 as my name that I wouldn't use that forever. I mean, that's something that has an expiration date on it. I've always felt like, because it has the word girl in it.
Right.
And I feel like when
that's my beef with the term girlfriend.
Yeah. Right.
You know,
right.
You met my girlfriend.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Who's not a girl.
Yeah, it sounds stupid.
A full woman.
This is a woman friend.
Yeah.
But that sounds even weirder.
Yeah, woman friend. Yeah.
A woman friend sounds weird.
Sounds like
too.
somebody that has a catheter. All right.
It's my woman friend. Yeah, I feel like over the past, because I've been almost on the internet for almost 8 years. In April, it'll be 8 years that I've been fucking around on the internet. And like in that time, I absolutely did start as a girl, but the internet has made a woman of me. And I do not feel like girl really is for me anymore. And that's hence the rebranding to Danica.
Right. So with Danica, you know, you have a following, I'm going to assume largely male, but not exclusively
like
male.
80%, 75 to 80% male.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
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 And then you discover this other dude named Dirtbag Dan, who I'm going to say is unsettling.
Yes. Yes. Excellent.
Describe Dirtbag Dan.
Okay, so with Dirtbag Dan, it's basically just me with a mustache, but I just look like a dude with a mustache. I look like a dude.
You have a mustache and a jazz,
a little soul patch piece.
Yeah, soul patch.
The soul patch piece, and then the kind of, it's not like a handlebar, but like it's like
it's like a hockey mustache.
It's a mustache, yeah.
But you do look
and I look like a fuck boy, kind of like a white trash, fuck boy. Southern kind of shit kicker dude. Yeah.
Dirtbag Dan looks like he should be in a trucker hat.
Who might give you a STI. Who will probably like steal your money at the end of the night and like run off or something. Or
a chain wallet and a sleeveless flannel shirt.
Yes. Yeah. Dirtbag Dan. Yeah.
Right.
And I love him. I like the first time he popped out, I don't know. I was going through a weird time and I was invited to go roller skating. And I was with a bunch of friends who also like to dress up like assholes. And so for whatever reason, I was like, I want to kind of
What do you mean dress up like assholes?
I have a lot of friends, especially in the professional or practical effects community, where we just love to dress up, any reason to dress up and be extra.
That's where we met.
So all my extra friends were all going to dress up and be extra. And I was just like, you know what, fuck, I'm going to put a mustache on, you know? And like, cause I had a wife beater on and like, I don't know. And I was like, whoa. And I didn't realize, cause I had been reading, Grant Morrison had talked about how he had done some cross-dressing stuff. And when he accessed his feminine side, he was able to do all this stuff that he wasn't able to do as a man. Like
unpack a little bit for who's Grant Morrison.
Grant Morrison is one of my favorite occultist comic book writers. He also, the Happy on Sci-Fi is based on one of his comics.
Right.
I think they're developing something else now too. But I love his work. He's such a weirdo, and he's a chaos magician.
Which is what?
A chaos magician is an occultist who adheres more to the left-hand path, where they don't have one set of rules. They believe that belief is a tool that you utilize and you change. So if you find anything that works for you, use it. You know, like if you like something from Wicca, but you're also into some Luciferian shit over here, and then the Golden Dawn stuff, this thing works for you. Just take whatever. Take if something from Bewitched, you like that.
Sure, it has a salad bar approach to the occult.
Anything that tastes good. Just utilize it. You know,
all good. Yeah,
it's all good. And that really stuck with me. Him talking about how his feminine side was able to do specific rituals that his masculine self was more scared to do. He found all these new dimensions to himself. And I've always been very comfortable in my masculinity. I feel like I kind of felt like for a long time when I was younger, I was robbed being born in a female body, because I was like, my life would be so much easier. I could get so much stuff done. There's so many advantages to being a male. I felt like I was like burdened with this feminine, having to be a female in this society. I was like, oh, this sucks.
Do you have a brother?
I do not. I always wanted an older brother, but I did have an uncle that was 10 years older than me. So he was more like a brother.
Yeah, more like a brother, sure.
But he wasn't like around all the time. He became like later on after college when he moved down, then we hung out more, but he was always like a few miles away.
So you didn't have like somebody in the home that you
no
looked at when, why aren't I you?
Yeah, no. Well, no, it wasn't like, I would be like super excited to have a big brother. But like, and like also I was kind of raised by my dad too. Mostly when my parents got a divorce, I ended up staying with my dad. And so he, I was also grew up with that whole thing. I was on the boys soccer team.
You're a tomboy.
Tomboy. I'm just comfortable with dudes. Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm part dude. I am part dude. And so I was like, okay, put this mustache on. And I had no idea that my masculine self would be so country, like so Southern. Like I myself am not like very Southern.
No, you're not.
Like Danica is not Southern, but Dan is. One thing that I think is really interesting is dating younger people. Like as Danica, I don't know, I feel like it's ethically wrong for me for some reason. I'm just like, oh wow, this person has no chance. I can easily manipulate this person. Like they have no chance. Like, like it's not even like what? And then, but with Dan, he's like, no, he's a daddy. He's like, I'm a mentor. Like, like he's like, no, it's fine. It's fine. And so the people that he talks to, he doesn't mind if they're a little bit younger. But then if
is this online? Does Dirty Dan have his own online?
Not yet. They've only seen images of him. He hasn't talked to the internet yet.
Right.
He hasn't. And I'm like, oh, that's going to be a big thing this year. Like, I'm kind of like nervous about it. Like, it's really interesting.
Actors will say, like, I didn't have the character until I put on the boots. And then I put on the boots and I got the walk.
Yeah.
And then from the walk, I got the character.
Totally. Put on the mustache.
Yeah, that happens a lot. And this is something was just part of my attempt to have the world's most specific narrow cast career. I do some shows as Dr. Zaius from Planet of the Apes.
I'd be so happy.
And my friend Ken Daly, who's been on the podcast, I just did one in December, a benefit, and it's Dr. Zaius, but he's like an old Hollywood actor.
Yeah.
That has been around and like, I drove down from Santa Barbara today just for this.
Yeah.
These cats are nutty. He's like, sort of half Dr. Zaius, half Sammy Davis Jr.
Yeah.
He goes, you don't even move like you when you're in the makeup. Like I really do. And my mind will,
it's real.
I'll improvise in stuff that doesn't normally come out of me. Like it does, you channel over into something else.
Absolutely. I've done a lot of cosplay stuff. And one time I was running around as Dazzler and she's very bubbly and upbeat. And my partner at the time was like, who are you? Like, who is she? Where does she come from? I like her. I'm just like, hey guys, like, oh my God. It was all night. It was crazy.
Yeah. Well, they said that, I forget the actor's name who played the Joker in The Dark Knight, but they said he's spending all that time with the Joker
Heath Ledger.
Yeah, Heath Ledger kind of messed with his head.
That's dark. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it.
His, as we like to say in medical terms, his punkin'. So Dirty Dan is going to start interacting with people.
Yeah, he's going to become a bigger thing this year. I don't know where we're going with this. This is up to him. Like, again, it's like, I don't know where this is going. This is just as much of a surprise to me as everybody else. And, and it's surprising to me that the internet is embracing him so much. Twitter especially. I mean, they are like more.
Well, that bleeds into the other thing that you were telling me about that that when did you float the idea that you started doing illustrations?
Yeah, I did some sketches. Yeah,
and then people started requesting pictures of you, but with a dude's junk.
Yeah, the futa girl, futanari as it's known in the hentai world, in the nerdy hentai world. There's a whole subgenre of chicks with dicks. And
or are they guys with tits? We'll be right back.
I mean, is it IRL or is it a cartoon? Because like that's where that question comes in. But yeah, there's this whole idea out there that people are really into, and it's been interesting because there's been some very specific fans of mine who have like requested it. That I'm like, oh, you're interested in that? And in fact, they're like, I don't like Dirtbag Dan. I just want Futa Danica. You know, I want the perfect androgyne, like androgynous, and that's where I'm headed though.
Sure.
I feel like that's where I'm headed.
Is that somebody who's maybe gay but can't quite get there?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I think that sexuality is very fluid, and I feel like people are getting a lot more comfortable with being more fluid.
I don't know if it's becoming more fluid or more fluid again.
Yeah.
You know,
well, true,
I think sexuality
true.
was really fluid in ancient Rome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Things were really different. Yes.
Yeah. And then we got, as a species, really religious.
Right.
In the worst way.
2,000 years. Yeah. Age of Pisces, baby.
It's a great way to control people.
Right.
And it seems like all of that stuff is breaking at the same time.
It is. And I feel like people are becoming much more, and they want to explore and they want to experiment. And like, this is a safe way for some guys to maybe question that and see. And maybe they find that they are interested and maybe they pursue it. Maybe they find out, hey, I'm not really into this.
I have a weird macro.
You never know until you try.
Indeed. I have a weird macro question, and it's not it's not a theory. It's a question about a theory.
Yes.
Is this new gender fluidity sort of a 100th monkey syndrome that everybody is sort of becoming aware of at the same time? And part of the underpinning of that is we are maxing out in terms of population.
Mm-hmm.
And as a race, we need to find ways to express sexuality that doesn't automatically result in procreation.
Yes. I feel like you're onto something for sure with that. I mean, it's really interesting how gay culture is exploding and how we do, maybe as a culture, like as an organism,
but I
as humanity as an organism,
in the way that otters learn to open shells with rocks all over the world. Maybe
we are waking up to the fact that we are at capacity naturally and subconsciously, and so that's why people are exploring these other avenues, because we know that, because it is really interesting. In my lifetime, it seems like we've shifted from everyone's expected to just go out and have kids to, I don't know almost anyone who wants to have children.
Right. Well, I'm also in your 20s.
Well, I'm 30s. But my friends and stuff, like I look around and like none of my friends like want to have kids. And it's like really weird. I mean, I feel like I'm one of the only ones who like has an interest in that. I feel very alone in that. But maybe that's also just with creatives.
You give it 10 years.
You know, with creatives. But
yeah,
I don't have another
you're
10 years.
Yeah, you're not.
Like, I don't have another 10 years. I like men, you guys can, whatever the fuck, you know, I mean, Jeff Goldblum was getting chicks pregnant in his 60s, you know, and like he just had a bunch of kids and settled down in his 60s.
Right.
I don't have that option. So.
Yeah, although it does, they're able to prolong it a little bit.
Yeah. But then the longer you prolong it, the harder it's going to be on your body.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm like, I'm already like, like
you already have a penis half the time.
I know. Well, that's another thing. I mean, the dick's really going to get in the way of the other. You know, it's like, oh yeah, now people are like, you have a dick.
C-section.
I'm not going to put a baby in you. Like what?
Well, yeah. Well. So yeah. You have this. You have
confusing sexual identity. Yes. Confusing people on the internet. Yes.
Well, Dirty Dan lives inside you.
Yes.
Which is better than the other.
He's always been here too. I mean, then now just people just see it, which is fun.
But what I find is interesting is it is a small change. Yeah. In terms of what you do, you just put on a mask.
Like but you look like makeup.
But you look like a completely different person.
It's insane. Like a friend of mine that I recently started hanging out with, she was like, when I first saw you, I thought you were a guy.
Yeah.
Like
have you ever gone out in public as Dirty Dan? Just walked around?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've definitely taken him on some test runs. I generally try to go to like a queer event, you know. But one time I went downtown and like I totally got the day wrong, and then like there was no queer event, and I was just like, sitting there like...
You went on the one day downtown didn't have a queer event?
Didn't have a queer event that I could find, and I was like, oh no. And so I just had this mustache, but I was like, whatever, I'm just going to rock it. And then I just like went around town in a mustache, and because it was 2019, everyone just has to put up with it because nobody wants to get canceled.
Right.
And it was so much fun. Like I ended up going to Grand Central Market. I ended up going to, and the way people interact with me is very interesting. Like, it is confusing for a lot of people, and it's kind of fun, and it's weird. It's a whole, like on a weird spy mission or something.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. It's unsettling, and I don't mean that like in a negative way, but just in the way that your specific bone structure, like right. You look like, is that a guy who's transitioning to a chick or chick transitioning?
Exactly. My face is very like neutral, gender neutral. Like I feel like I can push it and look really, really feminine, and I can push it and look like a boy.
Right.
I can't look like a man. Like I can look like a boy,
Right.
And so, but I've always felt very androgynous, and I kind of want to play that up. And as I get older, like right now, I've been playing the hot girl online because it's very lucrative and it's fun. And who doesn't want to play the hot girl? It's a fun time.
Right.
But it's not something
I
can't do forever.
I like telling stories. I like telling tales. But the best tales are true. But they can't be just any true tale. They've got to be special. They've got to be weird. They've got to be true tales from Weirdsville.
They're true tales from Weirdsville. Tales from Weirdsville. And they're true.
Can your heart stand the shocking facts?
He was known, in his time, as the evilest man in the world. Born Howard Levy in Chicago in 1930, he moved to the San Francisco Bay Area very early in his life. That explains it. He took a very keen interest in music, learning the pipe organ, of all things, and later attended high school in Mill Valley. Now, Mill Valley is not the locale of anyone's story of a rough and tumble childhood. So at this point in the tale, Levy claims to have dropped out of high school and literally ran off to join the circus. If I may interject at this point, that is a popular fantasy among young boys to run off and join the circus. But the whole point of the circus is that it travels from town to town. You don't have to run off and join it. You just have to sit and wait for it to show up. Granted, that doesn't sound as dramatic. Mom, Dad, I'm going to go out front and patiently wait for the circus. Levy worked as a roustabout and later what was known as a cage boy for animal acts. I don't know what that is. I'm not sure I want to. Later, he noticed that the same faces who showed up at the Saturday night burlesque shows would then be seen at the Sunday morning tent revival meetings. And even as a young boy, Levy began to develop a cynical view of religion. He moved to Los Angeles, where he worked as an organ player in burlesque houses, among them the famous Mayan Theater, where he reportedly had a brief fling with a pre-famous Marilyn Monroe. Then it was back to San Francisco, where he worked as a police photographer, shooting crime scenes. He also dabbled in psychic investigations, checking up on anonymous tip calls referred to him by the city's police department. That divorced dad, Howard Levy, became something of an underground celebrity. He began playing the Wurlitzer organ on Friday nights at the Lost Weekend Cocktail Lounge, shows that attracted people such as writer Fritz Lieber, future Famous Monsters magazine creator Forrest J. Ackerman, Hollywood Babylon author Kenneth Anger. He began elaborating on his biography. For example, there is no record of him ever working at a circus or carnival. The Mayan Theater was never a burlesque house, and there is no record of Marilyn Monroe ever having worked there, nor is there a record of Levy ever working for the San Francisco Police Department. But if there is no record of him ever having worked at a carnival, he is, at the very least, a carny at heart, a true 100% red, white, and blue bullshit artist. He was a showman. In 1956, he bought a Victorian house in San Francisco's Richmond district, right around the corner from the future apartment of yours truly. He formed a group called the Order of the Trapezoid and started hosting regular Friday night lectures at his house. Somewhere around this time, he changed his name from Howard Levy to Anton Szandor LaVey. On April 30th, 1966, the Christian holiday of Walpurgisnacht, LaVey shaved his head, keeping his Van Dyke beard and creating a Mephistophelian evil magician look for himself. That night, he declared the founding of the Church of Satan and renamed 1966 as Anno Satanas, the first year of the Age of Satan. To me, it was the year that Batman went on TV. Although he claimed to have shaved his head to resemble the ancient executioners, it was later surmised that he shaved it because he lost a bet and decided it looked pretty good. Time for some fun facts about the Church of Satan. To begin with, contrary to what your Christian friends tell you, or what you might assume about an organization called the Church of Satan, the Church of Satan does not believe in Satan. Peter Gilmore, one of the high priests of the Church of Satan, said, "My real feeling is that anybody who believes in supernatural entities is insane." Satanism in the LaVey Gilmore world begins with atheism and the view in a coldly indifferent universe. There is no God, there is no devil, no one cares. In the words of filmmaker Todd Hughes, he just used the word Satan to get attention, but his whole thing was about empowering people and rebuking Catholicism. Can you fault the guy for that? The Church of Satan hews more to the Hebraic definition of Satan, meaning adversary or opposer or one who questions. It is more than anything a rejection of Christianity and the manner in which Christianity seeks to oppress and control natural impulses. In 1969, LaVey published the Satanic Bible, which formed the foundation of the Church's philosophy. LaVey made a point that the Satanic Bible was not to be considered a sacred text, like the Christian Bible. From the book came the term atheistic Satanists, because of its belief that God is not an external entity, but something each person creates as a projection of their own personality, a benevolent if stabilizing force in life. The Satanic Bible has since gone on to sell over 1 million copies. Popular little devil. One thing you can say about LaVey is that he was in the right place at the right time. 1960s San Francisco was the nation's capital for far-out weird shit, and kids came from all over the country to be a part of it. LaVey became a permanent fixture in San Francisco's landscape of characters, and he was no dummy when it came to self-promotion. He had a 700-pound pet lion that made regular appearances in the San Francisco Chronicle's gossip and society columns. But 1960s San Francisco was hedonism headquarters, and the Church of Satan fit in perfectly, claiming that the Church of Satan was a bridge between religion and psychiatry, that his religion was the first based on man's carnal needs and fleshy pursuits. Here's a direct quote. "All religions are based on abstinence rather than indulgence, and all religions therefore have to be based on fear. Well, we don't feel fear is necessary to base a religion on." LaVey was a charismatic guy with a belief system that basically said, go nuts. He amassed quite a following in the let your freak flag fly era of the late 60s and 70s. Sammy Davis Jr. became an official warlock in the 1970s. I'm not sure how Frank Sinatra took that. We'll have to look it up. Hollywood star Jane Mansfield became a high priestess in the church. Jane Mansfield The star of Frank Tashlin's The Girl Can't Help It and Will Success Spoil Rock Hunter, was the second most popular blonde bombshell in Hollywood, behind her contemporary, Marilyn Monroe. Mansfield was accurately described as representing Hollywood excess in human form. Filmmaker Todd Hughes' documentary, Mansfield 6667, tracks, among other things, the bizarre and tragic events that befell the actress when she hooked up with Anton Szandor LaVey. Mansfield was dating her then de facto manager and divorce attorney, Sam Brody. Then she started hanging out with LaVey. It was, if nothing else, good publicity for an actress struggling to keep her name in the headlines. Supposedly, in the midst of their back and forth, LaVey put a curse on Brody. And not long after, Mansfield's son Zoltan was mauled by a lion. Not LaVey's. And Brody was in a string of car accidents, 6 total, and in the 7th, Jane Mansfield was killed. There is an urban myth that Mansfield was beheaded in the car accident. That is not true. Her car slammed into the back of a tractor trailer and rolled underneath. Since then, all trucks of that size are equipped with an underride bar beneath the rear bumper designed to stop a car from sliding underneath the trailer. This device is known as the Mansfield bar. In 1980, LaVey was linked to a plot to assassinate then-Senator Ted Kennedy. An FBI informant tipped off the Bureau that LaVey had given him a package that would then be delivered to a mob boss in Chicago, who would then assassinate Senator Edward Kennedy, who was currently on the road reluctantly campaigning for Jimmy Carter in his campaign against Ronald Reagan, having failed to wrestle the nomination from Carter some months earlier in the primaries. LaVey met with FBI agents, assured them that, as someone who was no stranger to death threats himself, if you want to get death threats, piss off some Christians. But to that end, he had the utmost respect for Senator Kennedy, and sadly revealed that far too many members of the Church of Satan were, in his words, fanatics, cultists, and weirdos, and that his interest in the church was by now largely monetary. The agents were convinced and came away with a report revealing their genuine regard for LaVey. It was the informant passing on bad information that got the talking to. LaVey died of heart failure in 1997, and afterwards, his longtime companion Blanche Barton took over the church. Soon after, his daughter Carla left the church and founded her own, the First Satanic Church. LaVey's longtime associate Peter Gilstrap distanced himself from Carla. His other daughter Zena started trashing him everywhere, and his house, the famous Black House at 6114 California, a 2-minute walk from my old apartment at 336 21st Avenue, has since been torn down and turned into hideous condos. And that, my friend, is the work of the devil.
And now, on with the show.
You said I play a hot girl online, which is true.
Yes.
And you occasionally have to remind people. And do you occasionally have to remind yourself? Like it is, like we were talking about Pee Wee Herman. I've always been so envious of Paul Reubens and Pee Wee Herman because his stage persona was completely whole cloth a different human being than he was.
Yeah.
And he could just put it on like a costume.
Pee Wee is his own thing.
Yeah. And then he takes it off and he's Paul.
Yes. And that's such a great separation of church and state.
Yeah. And you have to have that because you're sharing ostensibly something that's a very personal, intimate thing, but you've commodified it. And
that internalized capitalism, baby.
Yeah. And so you have to, is that hard to maintain? Is it,
it's tricky. And I have to check in with myself every so often. And I mean, I do have existential crises about this. Like it is something that I do take very seriously, and there is no right answer. I just have to check in and see what my comfort levels are. And every now and then I do have to do things to shake things up. And I also call it like,
such as,
I call it doing like a culling, where I start like popping off and like being crazy on Twitter, and then I lose like thousands of followers and stuff. And then you get rid of the dead weight. You do something crazy.
We call it pulling a Colin Quinn.
Pull a maneuver and then get rid of a bunch of people and then kind of like start over, because then it's like a fruit tree. You know, your audience is like a fruit tree, and you got to kind of prune it back. And I'm getting ready to do some shit that's definitely going to call a bunch of people. I'm not going to talk shit on Twitter, but I'm going to be changing my look, and that's going to change everything. I made this decision last night, actually.
Okay,
I literally just made it.
So it's not impulsive.
It's the most impulsive, but it's also necessary. And I've been waiting for this time, and I knew it was going to come, and it's here. It's sooner than I thought.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to shave my head.
Okay.
I'm going to shave my head. And I think that's going to...
Flat top Annie Lennox or THX-113?
I think I'm just going to THX it, man.
THX-113?
Yeah, I'm going to do Professor Xavier. I could be able to do a Daenerys cosplay. I could do a Furiosa cosplay. You know, I've been thinking of all the bald cosplays I could do with this shit. Because I just want to start over fresh.
Do you have a round head?
I think I do, but there is one spot in the back I'm a little worried about that seems a little flat. But maybe it looks fine. I don't know.
Silverback gorilla cone.
Yeah, I think it might be okay, but I don't know for sure.
I was going through some stuff in my garage this morning, and I found an old picture of Mila Nurmi when she shaved her head.
Yeah,
but she shaved her head in 54.
I know, she is so badass.
Yeah, and she had a flat top. For the do-re mi of it all.
Yeah.
You sell your hair.
I could. I actually thought about that last night.
It's blue.
I know. Sell locks of it and like be like, hey, this is the last.
Or just the whole thing. Just like
I know. Well, yeah, I was
or just like the biggest chunk of it in a
Well, it's a giant rat's nest right now, so it probably would stay together, and I probably could sell it as one piece because I've just been letting it, since I'm going to get rid of it.
Yeah.
You know.
Sell it to some dude.
I could. I actually
don't
really thought about
think
it.
about what he's going to do with it.
I know.
All right, so let's rewind a bit.
Yes.
You got people to read Dune.
Yes.
Why Dune, and how many people, and how did that work?
Okay. So, I was at a very dark time. It was the middle of the night. And I didn't have any money, and I was like, fuck, I got to come up with something. And Trump had been elected, and I was like, you know, I want to make America read again, you know, I don't know. And like in the middle of the night, like Dune Club, like I got this Dune Club, like this whisper, and I was like, what was that? Dune
a lot of people get rob a bank.
Yeah, no, these are my money making schemes. Sure. I come up with these ridiculous money making schemes, and this is one of them. And I was like, let's get people to read Dune. Like, I love Dune so much. The book has like helped me in so many ways. It continues to help me. Every time I read it, I get new things from it. It's one of the most intelligent books like ever. It's just like Frank Herbert has just gotten me through some really dark times. And like I said, I was in a dark place.
Right.
And so I was like, fuck it. I want to read this. I want to read this with everybody. And also it's like,
they're making it again, I think, right now.
Yeah. In November, it should be coming out.
Yeah. Is it a feature or
there's
a Watchmen? Like
there's going to be 2 features and that's going to encompass the first book. So, so yeah, I'm really excited about the.
And I'm assuming you've seen Jodorowsky's Dune.
I sure have. I love him too. Yeah, I love him too. But yeah, so I went on the internet and I actually negged people. I was like, are you hard enough for Dune Club? Can you read 800 fucking pages? Like I was like, and I had also like been spurned by a lover at that point too. So I was also like channeling like all this dark shit into this crazy fucking ad. And it worked, and thousands of people showed up. Thousands of people bought a Dune box. More people just showed up.
Right,
and
what's a Dune box?
A Dune box had the book, and I signed the book. And then it had a bookmark, and it had like a Spice Melange necklace, and like a little pin, a little Dune Club pin, enamel deal.
So again, you get this idea, and it's really I'm envious of you. You get this idea in the middle of the night, Dune Club, and then you come up with a Dune box.
Yeah.
And
I love making merch. It's super fun.
But then you monetize it, and
it's a win-win-win.
How many Dune boxes did you sell?
I sold a little over 3,000 Dune boxes.
That's a lot of Dune boxes.
That's a lot. That was my biggest selling thing
and you had to make pins and
Oh yeah, and I have a
bookmarks.
Fuck yeah, and I have people that I like. Sometimes I design them. Sometimes I have other people design them. I have a distribution company that sometimes I work with. Sometimes I ship from my own home. It just depends on how big the scale of the operation is. But I've managed a lot of large shipping operations.
Yeah, well, there's a picture of you on your Instagram about a month ago with you in front of a pallet.
Yeah. Signing. Yeah. Calendars.
Calendars?
Mm-hmm. I do calendars. So yeah, right now I've been shipping those out myself, but I've been doing my calendars right now. So every so often, like I do a sale on like a cool thing, and I try to do something that's like a win-win-win, where, hey, you get a book and then we get to have a whole class together and we get to do all this stuff. Like there's no cheating anybody. I don't know. It's just like a fun thing.
It's like, great. No, there's nothing. I mean, Dune Club is perfect.
It is.
It's like a book club. We're going to go and read this massive book, but we're going to do it together.
Yeah, because it's a tough book to read.
You're going to discuss it every Sunday.
Every Sunday. It was like church.
And did you do this? How did you discuss it? Live or live? Yeah,
I discussed it on Twitch. I would do a thing where I would kind of come with a prepared video that was like, okay, this is what happened in the chapters. This is what I really liked about it.
Like 2 chapters a week or 3 chapters a week.
Yeah. I give them like a little set of chapters to read, and then I discuss kind of my thoughts and feelings on it. Then we take a break, come back, and we open up questions, and then we take questions from people. And sometimes, like my patrons, I'll give them priority and ask them ahead of time, like, hey, put your questions in, and then I'll pick questions from that first, and then I'll take some from the audience after.
Right.
So yeah, it was just like a super fun, interactive book club, because there's not book clubs for dudes.
Right.
Like there's a real hole in the market. And
right, yeah,
so I've been exploiting that and making something for people, and not just for dudes, it's for everybody, but something that isn't the sister of the traveling pants, to read.
Sure.
Like, let's read Dune. We read The Watchmen. We read the second Dune book. We're going to read the third Dune book, Dune, Children of Dune, this summer. And I don't know. I also want to do Exorcist Club. I want to do 2001 a book club. Like I have a lot of plans for these things once I kind of get I'm getting everything ready for my big relaunch. So I'm going to be like hitting the ground running later this year.
What'd be an interesting book club is to do like, the Ian Fleming Bond novels, but talk about like how they're good and how they're crazy outdated.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there's so many fun things you could do with book clubs. And I also want to do
You can no longer settle an argument with a woman you're dating by raping them.
Yeah, that's not the deal. It's really interesting. I just read a book from the 50s called The Star's My Destination, which I was like, wow, I really want to do this as a book club. Like it was kind of short. It's really interesting, but there was definitely like a 50s like rape thing in there. And I was like, wait, did he rape her or not? I don't know, but the way they worded it.
Well, Ian Fleming, who wrote the Bond novels,
you destroyed me.
Was awful. And
but then she ends up liking him later, and you're like, what?
In the 40s, a girl would get hysterical and you'd slap her.
Right.
And that would calm her down, and then she'd kiss you.
Yeah.
And as a kid, well,
now they want to be choked, though.
We'll get into that. But as a kid, like I watched that and I thought, I guess that's what you do. I never did it.
Right.
But people see that and they go, I guess that's how you behave.
That's how you deal. And every now and then.
Choking, from what I understood, I only heard about this in the PSA, that there were porn stars making PSAs for young men that said, don't really choke people.
Right.
Like, they don't really like it.
They don't really like it.
So choking is a big thing in videos, I guess.
Right. I get. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do more of the hentai. I'm on that cartoon porn, so I don't
the tentacle-y thing is space tentacles.
Well, yeah. No, I want to start writing my own hentai this year, maybe. Thinking about it.
I was disappointed in The Watchmen when no one had sex with the tentacles and they just showed up and killed a bunch of people.
Same, dude.
I thought the tentacles didn't really
that would be my first story.
Destiny.
Yeah, my first story.
What is it about that culture that says like, it'd be a good idea?
Tentacles. You know what? God bless them.
What aren't they?
I agree.
Well, my friend Matt Weinhold, who hosts the excellent podcast Monster Party, had this comment about Gamera. It's like, he's a flying turtle. Giant turtle that flies, shoots fire out of its arms and legs, and is the friend to all children.
I mean, it's insane. Like, I love it.
Yeah.
I love Japan.
Probably not the thing you should say while laughing.
Well, they're so weird, and I want to go there so bad. And
I want to go to Japan. I've never been to
Japan.
Japan. I've been to China.
And I'm just into it. I'm into their weird shit. Like, I get it. Like, I love anime and manga and like all that crap. Like, I'm just like, oh, give me more. Like, yes, like tentacles does seem like a great idea.
There's
like,
also
this works for me. Yes.
There's also a cleanliness to Japanese. I was just in Japantown in San Francisco over the weekend, and just in Japan downtown, there's in their interior design, and there's just
elegance,
and cleanliness and poise and elegance,
stillness.
Yep,
I love it.
Yeah, it's not as much of a bukkake of input,
right?
That you get from like compare, well, I guess Sunset Boulevard to me is the ultimate example of like just Western culture. It's just like for 7 blocks, it's just look at this.
Yeah,
right. But I guess the Ginza is probably the same.
Well, I mean, they've got their wild and crazy shit over there. But that's why I like them. It's because they are so. Seemingly internalized.
Right, yeah.
They're just, And so when they do have expressions, they're so wild. Their expressions are because they're so, I don't want to say repressed. That isn't the word, but it's like, but when you have that pressure, whatever that pressure is,
it's like a hose, and it's like you get in the wide spray or the very
comes out.
And the very fine. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, sure. No, it's fascinating, and they're just the pop culture is fat. All the kaiju. Where we had Frankenstein and the Wolfman, and they had these kaiju films, and and why, it is utterly it's utterly fascinating.
It's really I'm fascinated by the Japanese, and they're one of the most monocultural first world countries in the world, and so that lends them I think of humanity like as one organism. Mm-hmm. We are all connected in weird ways that we don't understand. And Japan, I feel like they're like the canary in the cave. And if like they start I'm really concerned because they haven't been having babies, like they're like, no, we're not having kids, and it's like, well, what's going on over there? Because like they're so pure, It's like if this is coming through to them first, then like this is what's coming for all.
Yeah, I think they are canary. Yeah.
So it's like I like to watch Japan and see what's going on over there culturally to kind of get a bead on like things that may be coming down the pipeline for the rest of us.
Right.
That's fascinating.
As goes Japan, so goes the world.
Yes.
So let's circle back. Why Prometheus? What was it about Prometheus that galvanized you so much? Now let's just like you start this. You're in Alabama. You have a partner. Mm-hmm. You move to LA. Mm-hmm. You and your partner start this YouTube channel.
Yes.
Then you and your partner part ways.
Yes.
Was this with the partner, without the partner?
With the partner.
Yeah.
Prometheus was with the partner. That's with the comic book Girl 19 stuff. He played the robot in the Space Brain. He was also the director and editor of the show.
Right.
And
did you watch Mystery Science Theater?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I was every Saturday morning on Sci-Fi Channel. I was like, there. And Prometheus. When I saw, I was so excited for Prometheus. I love the world of aliens, and I love Ridley Scott. He's so fascinating as a director. I think he's so interesting. And so with Prometheus, I went and I saw this film, and it's so good in so many ways, and then so frustrating at the same time. There's just pieces that are missing, and that there's a really great movie in there, but it doesn't quite add up.
Are the xenomorphs in Prometheus? I haven't seen Prometheus.
Not really.
Well, this is what I heard, and this could be completely bullshit.
You haven't seen it?
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
Or maybe I've seen it. I think I have seen it. Does it end with the eggs in the tray? Or was that...
No.
Did he
I
make
think that was the other one.
Did he make a movie that was Alien? What was the next one?
That was, I don't even remember the name of it. I just blocked it out of my memory because it was so disappointing. The one, like Prometheus, I still have a love for. The next one, I was like,
whatever the movie that came next is the one I saw.
Yeah. That one did have a xenomorph in it.
Yeah.
The David's making out was hot though. That was playing the flute or whatever.
Right. That's the one I saw. That's the one I saw.
I mean, that was like the only part of the movie that I remember.
But supposedly they wanted to make another Alien movie, but this could be utter horseshit. But what I heard from a fairly reputable source.
Yes.
James Cameron had written into his contract when he made Aliens that any future Alien franchise film he got money from and was listed as producer. And but Ridley Scott made Alien before James Cameron made Aliens. So he's like, I'm not going to make an Alien movie and pay James Cameron a dime.
Yeah, fuck that.
And so he was like, no, it's called Prometheus. It's not an Alien.
Yes.
And tried to tell the story while staying outside the franchise as much as legality would allow.
That's really interesting, and that would make a lot of sense if that is true. Like, and I feel like that could be definitely something.
Always these giant things usually have the more small and personal the motivation, the more likely it is to be true.
Right. And that makes a lot of sense to me. And it also seems like he wanted to make an Ancient Aliens movie, but then they were like, we don't really want to do that. We want you to make an alien movie.
Right.
You know, and he's like, okay, I guess I'll make an Ancient Alien movie.
Well, it's so fun. And somebody said that, you know, the scene in Alien that really, you know, blew everybody's mind was the chest burster scene.
Of course.
And they said what was so brilliant about it was it happened in broad and flat lighting. It wasn't in a spooky, there wasn't thunder. It was just right there.
Right in the kitchen table.
Surgically clinical.
Yes.
And then in that, whatever that movie was called, he did everything he did every trope he avoided, and it's lightning and thunder and rain.
I know,
and it seems shadows, and then it comes out and it's so CGI'd. It looked like the Spaceballs Alien.
I felt like he was really ballsy to do the stuff that he did in Prometheus, even though I don't agree with all of his decisions. I like that he had the balls to make something so weird. And then in the second one, I feel like he got so much shit for Prometheus that he kind of was like, fine, I'll just phone it in this time and just give you what you want.
And that's what they do.
And that's what he did. And then I was like, oh, no, I wanted you to go even crazier and be like, no, fuck you. I'm going to make it even weirder. I
wonder about my favorite directors, and they just get to the point, it's just like, I don't care.
Well, watching the deleted
just turn on
scenes,
the camera.
Watching the deleted scenes of Prometheus, there is a lot of things that connect and make things make sense. But I can see why he cut them out, because Ridley Scott is a slut for pacing. And so the movie's perfectly paced. Prometheus is perfectly paced. But if he had added in those scenes, it would have made more sense, but the pacing would have been off. And I think he sacrificed story for pacing, which he's all about world building. I mean, that's what that's his main thing, is he just wants to build a world and keep you
And
there.
he was one of the first people to really...
And he's good at it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's his best fucking thing. That's his greatest trick, I feel like.
No, I agree,
being able to build an atmosphere and keep you there.
Yeah, no, Blade Runner was the
oh my God.
Rosetta Stone of that.
I mean, for real. It's just so amazing. I mean, I was a friend, this guy, Ryan Celsius, I listen to a lot of his music. He just cut this really cool, he just took some clips from Blade Runner and made this really cool little music video to go with this song called Tears in the Rain. And it's just so fire. And I'm just like, thank you. I just love these images so much. The images that Ridley Scott can create are just they just stay with you for the rest of your life.
I credit where credit is due. Stanley Kubrick also very good at it.
Stanley, okay. We need 2 more hours to talk about Stanley Kubrick. Don't even get me started on that, man. I love him.
Yeah, but now you should also do, in terms of your book club, you should do a movie watch.
Well, that's what 2001 a book club. It'd be we'd watch the movie, read the book, and then discuss kind of both.
Well, and because, as you know, they did them
in tandem,
and it drove Arthur C. Clarke crazy. Because he was done with the book and Kubrick wasn't done with the movie. And he needed money. And he's like, no, you can't publish the book yet. You can't publish the book yet. And he was like, but I need to publish the book. I need money.
I need money. And he's like, nah, bro.
He kept giving him advances to keep him afloat.
It's interesting because if you read the book, I mean, it answers all the questions you have from the movie. But I love the movie and I love the mystery of it. And I agree with what he did. I love that movie. I watched it many, 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 many times.
Yeah. I've never. Now, have you watched it unaltered? or always altered?
What do you mean altered?
Chemically altered.
Oh, sometimes chemically altered, sometimes not.
Does it make a difference? Is it better if you're stoned or?
I mean, it's definitely like a perfect stoner film. I mean, it's definitely like one that's great for that, but I don't think you have to have that, but it does help.
Right.
It does help because it's kind of, it is like there's long stretches where people aren't saying anything and you just, it's an experience. Like 2000 was an experience and you have to let it wash over you. And I know today everyone's so short attention spanny that maybe getting stoned, it'd be a good thing to get you to just calm down and then let it happen to you.
Yeah. It's a movie that is not made for a modern day attention span.
No.
Or a movie sensibility where you have to cut every 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Or the audience will leave.
There's a whole space docking ballet scene.
Right.
I mean, that goes on for like a while. Like,
yeah. And there's
the whole first part of just monkeys running around. Like, I love it.
And I don't know how long, I don't know how much more frenetic movies can get before they're seizure inducing.
Well, I think that like we're going into transhumanism. Like they're just going to have chips in your brain soon. Everyone's just
you just remember the movie. You didn't see it. Yeah.
You're just going to be, they're going to be putting ads in your brain. It's going to be terrible.
Yeah, and it'll go right to ads.
It'll go right to ads.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Like, if I had email installed in my brain, I'd have to know.
Yeah, I wonder when your wallet will be installed on your wrist. It will be within our lifetime.
Yeah, you're chipped. Yeah,
yeah, it will be within our lifetime.
Oh, totally.
Because there's why not my ATM chip instead of it being on my card or my wallet can just be on my wrist.
Oh, we're headed there with Big Brother, Age of Aquarius, baby. It's all happening.
But I thought the Age of Aquarius was the reverse of that.
No. I mean, like we've been in the Age of Pisces, and that was like very emotional. Pisces is very emotional. It was all about consciousness and where your soul goes when you die. Those are very Piscean themes. With the Age of Aquarius, where I'm an Aquarian and we're much more aloof, a little more robotic, more philosophical. That's why I feel like gender fluidity, individualism, technology. We're going to see the Big Brother shit. Yeah, that's definitely like, cause we had religion to control everybody. The new thing is going to be like Big Brother shit. That's going to be like Big Brother's watching you.
Sure.
I mean, we all joke about the NSA, like listening to your phone, or the FBI guy.
Yeah.
You know? And I mean, I talk to my FBI guy on my phone legit. Like, I'll be like, oh my God, did you see that? I'm so mad right now. Like, and I'm kind of like hoping someone's
Do you cover up the eye in your computer?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Oh yeah.
My whole attitude is like, if you can find me doing something interesting, God bless you.
Right. Well, I know my little phone's a little slut spy, you know, like that. We're best friends, but I know she's really informing on me, and it's going to be sad when, I don't know, it bites me in the ass one day.
See, my take on that is, like, I know somebody back east that doesn't want to get a freeway fast pass because they don't want the government to know where they're going.
Oh, yeah.
And my take on that is, you should be so lucky that your life was interesting enough for them to give a shit.
Yeah.
And that's also like, and it also goes to the people who hoard guns because one day they're going to have to go up against the government and maintain freedom.
Yeah.
No, you can't. When the government wants to take your guns away, they'll do it in a way that it'll be wrapped in a flag.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll be first in line.
Right.
Or they'll just have a pimply faced kid with a keyboard fire a drone at your camp.
Right. And wars aren't really fought that way anymore.
No,
I feel like it's information. It's the age, the era, again, Age of Aquarius.
Yeah.
We don't fight wars on the ground. We fight them like online information, like in the shadows.
Yeah. Whatever is going to happen to you will be over before you knew it started.
Before you even knew it started.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
You got me.
Yeah. So let's not bother with that.
Right.
But I do feel it is interesting that we are at the precipice of a big cultural change.
Shift. I mean, the 2020s, I mean, shift. You look at the 1920s, everything shifted. Fashion shifted. It's just so many, like, people got cars, electricity, like everything popped off. Like women stopped wearing like these really restrictive clothes. They cut their hair. They started getting tans. Everything changed. And I expect that this decade we're going to see a lot of change.
And not all change is great, but some changes.
It's scary and it's weird and you just kind of roll with it and it's a little awkward. But I mean, this happens every century. It's like we're starting to find our footing culturally and assert like who we are as a new century.
Right. And what you said is you have to roll with it.
Yeah. I got to ride the wave.
Because, evolution does not favor the strong. It favors that which is the most adaptable to change.
Yeah.
And change is the one thing that never changes.
Yeah.
There is always change.
Absolutely.
And that never stops.
It never stops.
Yeah.
It never stops.
And that's why cultural conservatism is by definition a losing battle, because cultures evolve.
Yeah.
And you can't stop it.
You can't stop it. You can't stop it at all. Survival is the ability to
and
swim
I don't mean,
in strange
and I don't
waters.
mean I don't mean like a cultural conservative, like, I don't like rock music or rap or anything. I'm talking about the people that always are trying to bring things back to how they were before.
Oh, no.
That doesn't happen.
No, there's none of that. That doesn't happen.
It doesn't, that was
that's nostalgia.
Yeah, well, the great unspoken of Trump's election was, I'm going to make it the 50s again.
Make America great again, yeah. I mean, but that's what...
I'm going to bring back manufacturing.
Politicians have been doing that for...
But it was a specific appeal to, I'm going to bring back
but it
1950s
it worked now because people are so unsteady because we are in a new century. And so people are looking to the past because they are like, oh, fuck, what are we doing now?
Yeah, I feel safe.
And so it's the perfect lure to use in this moment.
Yeah.
But there will be a moment later where saying, oh, I'm going to make it great again is not going to work. And someone's going to have to use the promise of the future.
Right.
But that's what people do to manipulate you. They promise you either a return to the past or some bright, shiny new future.
Right.
But it's all bullshit. And
it's
they're
true.
all lies.
It's true. And
you do whatever they want you to do right now.
And it is great to be nostalgic. And I certainly am, probably more than the average person, but you have to know it for what it is.
We have to separate the wheat from the chaff. And like, you can go back to the past and see what was going on and take things that were awesome and keep certain traditions that are really helpful. and then get rid of some other ones that maybe weren't so helpful.
Right.
And evolve some other ones. There is something to be said for looking back to the past. I don't say like fuck it all, burn it all, but also again, you have to separate the good stuff from the stupid stuff.
Yeah, and I don't ending on a weird note, but reading a newspaper story this morning about a giant gun rights rally in Virginia, and there was a group called, I believe, The Base, or it's something else with a B. Mm-hmm. And, they plan to kill a bunch of people there and poison the water supply. And it was hoping that would trigger greater violence.
Yes.
That would result in, and this is where it goes from evil to crazy.
Yeah.
But up till now, we've just been evil.
Uh-huh.
But then the violence would spread and in a Mansonian way that would trigger a race war that would result in Virginia becoming an ethno-state.
That's a really roundabout plan.
Yeah, it's like, not really. I want to be a pastry chef, so I'll run for Senate. And pass a law that anybody can be a pastry chef.
It's like you're letting loose chaos and you can't control it once you open a Pandora's box.
Right.
Like you're opening Pandora's box and things will change, but you're not going to be able to control how they're going to change.
Yeah, and also that's true. And also ethno-states, that's backward. That's
not going to
time
work.
travel.
Yeah, I know.
That only works the time machine.
This is America.
Yeah.
This is like we're all not supposed to be here.
No, it's all it's all temporary.
We're all
it's all temporary.
You're going to make ethno-state where we're going to give it back to the Native Americans. Is that what you're talking about?
When the white people got here, we were a minority, and there's no rule that says we have to stay that.
Exactly. It's like, so I don't know, we've always been a melting pot, so just kind of deal with it.
Yeah, and I think that's
why I like LA. I get bored. And I don't want to be in a place where everybody's the same. And so I like the city because there's so many different types of people, and everyone is making it work. And I love it.
Yeah.
Like people here are just like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your sexual preference is or what your hair looks like or your skin color or whatever. It matters whether you can do the job or not.
Sure. Although we are becoming Blade Runner, we've got to deal with our housing problem.
Oh yeah. We're becoming Blade Runner though. Yeah.
And that's just greed. And there was a great quote. There was an article in the Fortean Times, one of my favorite magazines, about the Cecil Hotel downtown, which is purportedly haunted. And it said, I'm paraphrasing, but it was, the blight is a testament to a wealthy society's failure to care for its weakest citizens. And all of these things, all of these tent cities, it's the failure of society. Mm-hmm. And you are society. Yeah. So
I feel like that's like the Joker movie. Failure. Yeah. It's like it is. That's the thing. It's like it's not top down, it's bottom up. Right. So it's like if you're upset about climate change or you're upset about the homelessness issue or you're upset about whatever, instead of looking for someone else to fix your fucking problem for you, maybe you could do one small thing in your life where, hey. Especially
a politician.
Yeah.
Is not going to save you.
No, don't give your power away to these people. No.
I don't care if his name rhymes with Blarney Blanders. He's not going to save you.
No, they're not.
He can't save you.
They can't. No. It's about us taking personal responsibility.
It's civil rights, gay rights. It's, the slavery. It all started from the people demanded it.
Yeah.
And made it happen. And then politicians came around at the very tail end
because they're like, now this will give me some votes because everyone says this is okay now. So yes, this is okay. Yeah, we love this.
They operate out of fear like everybody else.
Oh yeah,
and self-interest like everybody else.
Oh, yeah.
And people.
Well, that's what's interesting.
Vote for who you believe in, but please don't think they're going to save you.
Well, you're talking about how, religion is going away, and it is. It's becoming less and less popular, but people are they don't know what the fuck to do if they don't have religion, if they don't have God, what do they do? Who do they worship? And some people are going to science, and worshiping science, which is not science is always disproving itself. That's not a dogmatic thing. That's not smart. But also politicians are the other thing that I see people starting to idolize and being like, AOC or Bernie or whoever or whatever the fuck or Trump or whoever your dude is or woman. People putting all of their eggs or their faith in these people, and it's just yikes.
Yeah,
because they're characters too. Just like we play characters, they play characters.
And I believe that AOC is a decent person. I believe that Bernie Sanders is a decent person.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're terrible people.
Yeah, but they're not going to. Even if they wanted to save you,
no,
our system is not designed for one person to have broad influence.
Yeah.
It's the reason Donald Trump has been the president for almost 4 years, and abortion is still legal. Mm-hmm. Because one person can't come in, wave a magic wand, and make all your fantasies come true.
Balances, Yeah. But do it yourself.
There's the door. Perfect time to end it. On YouTube.
You can find me on YouTube, Comic Book Girl 19, and on Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, and Twitch at Danica XIX.
Done.
Boom.
Other podcasts reach for the sky. Dana Goldthwait.
We barely try.
This has been the Dana Gould Hour, brought to you by the Internet. Music by Andy Paley, with Jake Posner behind the board. Produced by Jeff Fox. Graphic design and web production by Spencer Hunt and Segan Friend. Sound editing and post-production by Jalinda Palmer and Joe Napolitano. Hey, if you like the show, why don't you drop us a line at show@danagould.com. Tom Kenny speaking.
I'm a DJ, I'm a person, I'm a singer, I love to sing and DJ. Boom! Peace out. You want me? Peace out. Boom.